In today's video, 5 ways to improve your claps, sponsored by me and my new company, multiplier.audio, and future claps, the most excellent and most future of all the claps. Link below for that, quite naturally. And as you can probably imagine, all the claps you'll hear today will be from this pack from Future Claps on my website, my brand new company, which I'll explain more about later. The time now is for claps and how to make them better. Let's dive in. Tip number 1, frequency shift the reverb over, say, 4 or 8 bars. It's such a beautifully subtle way to create a build-up or transition, and you can go down. Tip number 2, again reverb related. Try putting a different reverb on this clap than this clap. This creates a subtle variation between this clap and this clap, effectively making a half-bar rhythm. It's one of those subtle things that lots of pros do, but you just don't realise it, as it's almost by definition quite subtle, but it works. I remember seeing Dylan Francis do this, for example, and Skrillex. Sonny Moore is his name. The key to this is subtlety. You don't want this to be extremely different to this, just slightly different. And it doesn't have to be the reverb necessarily, it could just be a different clap. Here's another example. And another. Those claps, of course, from future claps. Anyway, tip number 3, if your claps land on a kick, so for example, here and here on the 2 and 4 on a kick, where the snares go, if your claps land on a kick like this, try nudging them left on the screen. Move them left so they happen a tiny amount of time before the kick and or before the snare. Again, this is standard practice, but it's just not obvious if you haven't seen it before. Analyze your favourite tracks, for example, and you'll see this. You'll see the clap coming in a tiny amount before the kick. In these situations, the kicks land on the grid, but the clap's just a bit before. Exactly how much you move it depends. It depends on the clap, it depends on the BPM. There's no exact answers here. Just basically keep moving it left, keep nudging it before the kick until it sounds about right. If you bring it in too early, well, it sounds wrong. Nudge it too far to the left and it sounds out of time. But if you bring it just a small amount in left, bring it in just a small amount before the kick, off the grid, it sounds like it's a part of the kick in time. It sounds like it's a part of the kick, but because it happens before the kick, it stands out. If it lands on the kick, it can get a bit lost under the kick. Whereas if it comes in before the kick, our ears can hear it. And then it's almost like the kick enhances the clap. Not that you do this necessarily with every clap, just maybe 2/3 of them roughly. For example, this clap works fine on the kick, whereas these ones don't. These need to be nudged to the left. Again, prove this to yourself. Take your favourite tracks, line them up to the grid, and take a look to see where the claps line up. You'll see that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they're just before the kicks. Slightly off the grid, left in time, happening before the kicks. You can see this visually by taking a look. Tip number 4, make your own layered claps from short claps. Listen to this. As you can see, this layered clap's made from shorter claps. What we call transients, a very short, spiky bit of audio. Like these, we call these transients. Or if you like, short claps. In fact, I think I call them short claps in future claps. Take some short claps, some transients, and line them up. Varying the amplitude, the volume, the heights of them very slightly too. See how I varied the heights of the various transients there? And to make this more cohesive, try adding reverb to it. Structurally, a clap's really just a bunch of transients, a bunch of spikes, and maybe some noise. Look at these claps, visually, for example. See those spikes, those transients? Structurally, this is what a clap is. Add some noise, add some reverb, and you have a clap. Let's talk about analog drum machines. They make claps by taking some white noise, or some pink noise, but normally I suppose white noise. They take this white noise and then play it really fast 4 times with a bit of a decay, creating a stutter almost, a really fast one, creating transients effectively from the white noise. That's these guys here. And then just let the white noise play out. All of this happening so fast, it sounds like one sound. It's really just white noise, stuttered a few times and then played out. It's that stutter, those transients, those short spikes of sound that make it a clap. If we take a look at some future claps here, can you see what I mean? Can you see the structure that made them claps? Can you see those transients, those spikes that make them structurally claps? It makes sense. And finally, tip number 5, try syncing reverb pre-delay to the offbeat. So for claps like this that land on the grid, maybe in genres like trap or maybe for a build-up. In the situation where the claps are the tempo or maybe driving the thing forward, try syncing reverb pre-delay to the offbeat. So the reverb comes in between the grid lines on the 8ths. So the reverb comes in here, not here. So using reverb here as a rhythmic tool, providing a complementary offbeat rhythm. Now it's worth noting that not all reverbs are allowed to do this. For example, this reverb here only allows you to set pre-delay in milliseconds, whereas in say Pro R, for example, you can sync the pre-delay time to the grid, to tempo, allowing you to set it precisely to an 8th division, whereas say in this reverb, well, it's only in milliseconds. And so to use this reverb, we'd either have to work it out manually, using one of these online calculators, for example, allowing us to convert tempo to milliseconds, or we can configure it manually in our DAW, doing something like this, creating pre-delay manually. Can you see what I'm doing here? For more information about this, do see the video I did called Reverb Pre-Delay Trick. Future claps. Some light ones too, lots of claps, many hundreds of them. And remember, for 20% off anything on the website, use discount code CLAPCLAP. CLAPCLAP for 20% off anything on the website. Catch you in the next one.